This is a British person reacting to an American who's reacting to a video about American things, or that he thought were American things, that the Americans apparently took from the UK. Now, the video that he's actually speaking about is titled "Americans React to Shocking Things That America Stole from Britain." I think "stole's" a bit of a strong word, but that's the gist of it. I don't think he's going to like this video, to be honest.
Enough of that. Let's get to it. Top 10 things America stole from Britain. Here we go.
Number 10, apple pie.
What?
As American as apple pie, right? Wrong.
Yeah!
I told you he wasn't going to like this.
Yeah! Yes, what? How? If this is the first one already, how bad could this get?
This isn't going to go well for you, I can tell you that.
That's a saying. That has its own phrase. American is apple pie. When you're talking about something really American. Apple pie was invented in Britain. Is there proof? Come on. The first person hundreds of years ago to make apple into pie.
Wrong. The sweet treat is a staple on US dining tables, but the British were the first to serve it way back in the 1300s.
Oh. Well,
it was a while ago.
It was back in the 1300s. Okay, that's pretty a long time ago. Probably.
Yeah, just as a quick recap, in America, what were you doing in the 1300s? Oh no, that was a British one then. But to be honest, we didn't know that either. We all thought in the UK, that American pie was, well, American. Because, well, we see American TV, we've seen all the same shows as what you've seen. We've all heard most of the same things that you hear, where it's kind of, advertised as an all-American thing. So when people are researching out for these videos and that sort of stuff, and we find out that something actually turned out to be British originally, half the time it's as much of a surprise to us as it is to you. So then, it shouldn't feel too bad.
Probably the first apple pie.
Popular dessert throughout European history, with Dutch and Swedish styles also inspiring menus worldwide, it was taken across the pond with the 17th century colonists. Since then, apple pie has become a standout symbol of US patriotism.
Right. If it came with the American colonists, that would mean it was from Britain. Wow. Is there going to be a bunch of stuff like this, just shattering my American worldview? Apple pie?
There is, but I mean, look at it this way though, we did go to a lot of different countries, so we got a lot of different ideas from them. When I say went to a lot of different countries, we've now learned that when you go to visit another country, it's not okay to take an armada with you. So we don't do that anymore, but it does mean that we picked up lots of different ideas when we were previously at those countries. So it does make you wonder just how English or British a lot of these ideas actually were.
Pie? We can't even have apple pie.
As well as a central component to a teen comedy franchise.
It's not what it looks like.
Number 9, YMCA. Way before village people turned this institution into a cheesy disco anthem.
I don't know why I thought the YMCA was an American corporation or gym. I just figured it was, because it was always there. How often do you get a gym that's intercontinental? And
he's saying at a gym. I thought, I might be wrong, and if there's any other Brits listening to this, I thought that the YMCA back in the 80s, they used to run kind of social clubs, didn't they? For, like a youth hall, or not like the Scouts. It was, a place where you might get a pool table there or something like that for everybody from, 8 up to 15 or something. I'm sure that they used to be the YMCA, but I don't know if you remember, or if you were about and you've got something to put on it. Let us all know.
And plus it has the song, the YMCA song. Everyone knows it. Super popular in the United States. My goodness.
And long before the YMCA swept across America, the Young Men's Christian Association was the brainchild of English philanthropist George Williams.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember there being a religious context to it. I just remember it being some type of social club for well, teenagers, young teenagers, I guess.
Hey, I didn't even know what it stood for. Well, I guess you can just trace this back to whoever founded the YMCA, and it's a Brit.
Dismayed by working conditions in 18th century London, Williams conceived the now famous charity as a safe place for its patrons. While the movement's worldwide influence is something to be proud of, difficult to imagine Williams joining in with the dance moves.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that from it.
Number 8. Chocolate bars.
What?
I'll eat it now.
What? I feel like... Have I heard this one before? I feel like I have, because I was thinking, come on, chocolate? Britain invented chocolate? That's not a big deal or anything.
Candy bars are big business stateside, but before Mars, Hershey's, Milky Bar or Baby Ruth, there was one bloke in Bristol making confectionery history. Joseph Fry finalised the first mass-produced chocolate bar in the mid-1800s, around the time that...
Yeah, the fried chocolate bar, you can still get it now. They do a peppermint one, and I don't know what the other one is, just normal cream, I think. But the peppermint one is really nice, and I don't know if you have After Eight chocolates in America. It's pretty much that. It's a chocolate bar version of that, but a bit nicer. They're also quite expensive. As far as I remember, when we was younger, that'll be the one that you buy now and again, but you wouldn't buy it very often because it was expensive back then. I think it's probably just normal now because most of the chocolate in the UK is a lot more expensive generally. So I don't think that Fry's would have been able to put the price up too much more, otherwise people just wouldn't buy it. But yeah, and as for chocolate itself, if you think about it with the actual boxes of chocolates and stuff like that, that would have started so far back in UK history and the countries that influenced the UK that it's not really that much of a leap.
Dutch developed a chocolate press. Fry's chocolate cream hit shelves in 1866 with a famed fondant filling.
Wow, I mean, that's actually kind of amazing to me. Is that the first chocolate bar ever? Did the first one ever have filling? You'd think it'd come out with just the chocolate bar. They had to have just regular chocolate and then the bar with the filling later. Anyway,
yeah, that's a good point.
No need to get into semantics about it. Clearly a British thing.
It's got to be somebody with just a block of chocolate gnawing on it.
John Cadbury quickly followed suit, while the likes of Hershey's didn't arrive until the late 1890s.
Wow.
Number 7. Sandwiches.
What? Sandwiches. Come on.
I knew you wasn't going to like this.
Sandwiches. This one almost isn't fair, because of course, I just expected sandwiches were always there. They're as elemental as gold or something found in the earth. Sandwiches.
Could I have a glass of wine?
Okay,
And a ham sandwich?
if you like.
With a pickle?
All right.
Thanks to world-conquering fast food outlets, Homer Simpson and Joey Tribbiani, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this foodstuff was a US creation. However...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily think it was a US creation, but the sandwich, bread and something in between it. Who knows who did that first?
I think he's kind of got a point, hasn't he? Yeah, to think that, okay, I know that there's ways that it can be kind of traced back to a particular point, but to believe that nobody ever stuck something between or in a piece of bread and then ate it before it kind of became formalised, I don't know. I find that a bit of a stretch.
However, the history of the sandwich is long and complicated, and very little of it happened in America. While early versions are recorded across Europe, it's named after the 4th Earl of Sandwich in Kent.
Oh, the Earl of Sandwich. I've heard that before. Oh, man. That's the only way I could have been convinced that it was created by someone. Their name would have to literally have the word sandwich in it. But,
yeah, that just
wow,
kind of pushed a bit
another
towards
thing I'm
evidence, I
realizing,
guess.
America, in the grand scheme of things, has not been around
Yeah, if you call
that
Mr.
long.
Baguette there, yeah.
Britain has been around a pretty long time. It's starting to make a lot of sense why a lot of British influence has found its way into America. And maybe it says something about Americans that we don't like to talk about where our cool stuff came from. As a matter of fact, We might even like to take a little credit for it. Don't ask. Don't ask where our sandwiches came from. Yeah. Well, we made those. Yeah, sure.
The story goes that he was an ardent gambler, and meat between bread was the simplest way of eating without disrupting a game of cards.
Sandwich for display purposes only and should not.
So it's kind of like a double-edged thing, isn't it? Yeah, okay, we get the credit in the UK for being the creator of, or apparent creator of the sandwich, but he created it because he was such a heavy gambler. Yeah, I'm not sure that's really a win for us, but we'll take it.
And should not be eaten.
Number 6, The Office.
The Office. This is probably the number one most cited example. We're sorry, all right? Sorry, but our version of The Office is pretty darn good.
Yeah, even though it is quite popular in the UK, I'm one of the people that didn't really ever find The Office funny. Some funny bits, but never really got into it. I think it's probably more popular in the US with your American version than the UK version in the UK. I know that it is popular in the UK, but not anywhere near as popular as what The Office in the US is. Or that's the way it seems. I don't know that many people that regularly watch it or watched it.
Controversial statement.
That's what she said.
And yes, we mean the TV show and not the actual open plan workplace, which is largely a German invention. Anyway, unlike a lot of American...
Germans invented the literal office? Like where you work? Okay, all right.
Yeah, but you get efficiency from an office. Of course it was
did
German.
manage to tap into most of what made its predecessor pair. But after 9 series and a shed load of awards, let's just remember where it all started.
True. And I do always give props to British comedy in general. No way to really, truly imitate it.
Steve Carell's Michael Scott is hilarious in his own right, but for fans of the British...
Yeah, that's the same the other way around as well, though, isn't it? Because I know that you've got 1 or 2 comedies, Friends, Frasier, a few other things like that where they're kind of left in the proper form. We see them as you probably see them. I'm assuming that you watch those in the US, US comedies. And they are popular in the UK, but really it doesn't transfer. Our comedies don't really work in your country, vice versa. So I think it's just that they need to be tweaked for the audience. And there's 1 or 2 Friends, Frasier and so on that do get through, but generally the only way that you're going to get to sell the franchise in another country is to make it for that country.
The British original, he'll always be David Brent in disguise.
That's true. A remake of a comedy show. Has that been done very often? A remake of a comedy show? I'm sure it's been done, but this is the most famous example. That's such a weird thing to do, because you form such an emotional connection with the characters, and when you're replacing them with someone else and they're telling the jokes and they're trying to recreate a different kind of humor, but not really, it is a little strange.
But that's why you don't see it very often, because it is different, and it has been tried quite a lot. There's quite a lot of different, not just comedies, but programs overall where you've tried to transfer, or the media companies tried to transfer them from the US through to the UK and vice versa, and they generally just don't take off. They just don't work. So I think that the only way to do it is to remake them. But when you remake them, like you say, it's hard to get that emotional attachment back to it just by kind of trying to reinvent it. That doesn't work. It's not about the program. It's about the people in it, isn't it? It's a whole lot, and you can't really recreate that. It either works or it doesn't.
Number 5, plastic surgery.
Wow.
What?
That came out of me.
From Botox to boob jobs, America is the world's leading market for cosmetic surgery.
It's quite an up-to-date thing, but I think to have it as an extra, that's where it's up-to-date, that's where it's modern. If you don't like the way that you look, so you want to tweak something, that's a modern thing, isn't it? But surgery itself,
Scientists.
for sure.
And it's performed so commonly and probably as one of the biggest plastic surgery markets in the world, if not the biggest. But is
Yeah, I reckon
invented
the
in
biggest.
Britain, I'm told.
But the industry was by no means born in the USA. Sir Harold Gillies is often credited as the father of plastic surgery, a New Zealand-born, London-based surgeon who gathered leading physicians to treat thousands of soldiers who had been injured or disfigured in World War I. Gillies' work became a blueprint for all sorts of reconstructive
that's
procedures,
kind of what I
and a
was
starting
thinking.
point for
Something
today's
a bit early.
aesthetic options.
That makes so much sense. It's actually such a noble, beginning to it all. Helping people.
Yeah, but I think, like you're saying, I think that he was thinking the more current, up-to-date type of thing, where lips enhanced, nose straightened, things like that. Whereas I think that they're on about sticking an arm back on, that type of thing. So I'm not sure that he's actually wrong on that one.
Helping people who are injured or needing reconstruction rather than all this cosmetic surgery. That's all I really hear about these days.
Number 4, the light bulb. A supposedly serial stealer of other people's ideas, Thomas Edison's light bulb moment is considered one of the most significant steps in modern technology.
Hey,
Told you I wasn't gonna like
how about
it.
sharing some of those light bulbs, huh? Hey, figure it out for yourself, man.
But experts are continually divided on just how much Edison did to develop the design.
What? This would end up being the biggest lie in American history if Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb. That's one of the number one achievements that we are taught in school. That, okay, Thomas Edison, he's our guy. He
Sorry to burst that bubble.
invented the light bulb, electricity, very important to the world. You're telling me that
It
is not necessarily true?
Before the Wizard of Menlo Park, there were countless other scientists creating electric light and light bulbs, not least British pioneers including Humphrey Davy and Joseph Swan. The anti-Edison camp claims that the inventor's only skill was knowing when to patent.
One thing Edison
Oh, knowing when to submit the patent for it, the patent. Wow. I mean, inventions like this, history is only written by the victors, as they say. So maybe Thomas Edison was just merely the inventor who got to write history and say, hey, I did it, and take all the credit. Where maybe there were other scientists doing the same thing, or I'm open to it. You know what? I'm open to the possibilities, but
The thing is, back in that sort of day, there's quite a lot of different things that were created by or invented by people in Britain. But there was also a lot of people that couldn't get funding for their ideas and designs. So a lot of stuff that was from British designers did end up being created in America because they had to go to America to get funding to push their idea forward and to get it patented, get it taken to market. So it's not just that there's a lot of people that were creating and inventing stuff in the UK and they didn't end up getting credit for it because they didn't stick the patent in. It's also that there just wasn't always the support for it. I think that because the US is such a big population, then it means that there's probably a bigger chance of being able to get sponsors, or whatever the equivalent of a sponsor was back then, to try and help push your idea forward. But in the UK, I think that it probably would have been down to, probably a group of 50 or 60 people in the entire country that were kind of the most powerful at the time. And they were trying to create different things. And if they're the others in their group or in their social group didn't want to push it forward, then what do they do? Just put it into the history books? No, they get on a boat, they go to the US, and they actually try to get it made. So I think that there's a bit of a crossover with stuff like that as well. So it makes you wonder exactly where those lines are kind of drawn.
this is one of the more shocking revelations. Big, if true.
didn't invent. For 100% genuine Edison invention that we use every day, probably, most of us.
Is it nasal hair clippers?
Number 3, donuts.
What?
Bite will hurt you.
Donuts.
The origins of the donut are a sticky affair, with claims and counterclaims sending historians round and round in circles.
This is a good one, because this does feel like it should be a super American invention. And maybe I'm just talking about the fact that Americans are super unhealthy and love donuts. I won't deny it. As a matter of fact, I'll embrace it. It's the truth. We like donuts.
Yeah, I think that we should kind of make an amendment here because, all right, it might have ended up being a UK, a British invention, but I think that donuts are so popular in the US. I think there should be a kind of a caveat so that it's not just who invents it, but it's who actually decides to make it popular, make it a thing. And Americans with donuts, there's no doubt in it. Everybody knows across the world knows you definitely made it a thing. Now everybody eats donuts in the UK, but not quite like you. I know that you've got entire donut shops. We might get a little food stand like what you get a hot dog stand. We might get one of those selling donuts at the seaside, but a little bag in Sainsbury's maybe. That's about as far as it goes. So I think that even if it turns out from the rest of the video that it was a UK invention, I think you should be kind of awarded that one by proxy.
Donuts. And it's such an American seeming thing that when you think about it though, it makes complete sense that this could have come from anywhere in the world. It's just a simple little baked good with some sugar or frosting on top.
However, while it
I think that's what it should be, whoever makes it popular.
with treats to America in the mid-19th century, a 2013 discovery seemingly proves that the Brits were baking
Not with everything, just with
years
donuts.
before.
Really?
Baroness Elizabeth Dimsdale's cookbook dates to 1800 and includes a strikingly similar recipe.
Really? Well, that was only discovered 9 years ago? That Britain might be responsible for donuts? Well, I don't have any kind of defense. I don't feel defensive about this one. I'll just say thank you. Thank you very much.
A deep-fried
Yeah, we're kind of the same over here. Yeah, I think that you lot are into donuts a bit more than us. I think you should take that one anyway, even if it is in one of our old cookbooks. And really, it is our own problem because if it isn't a cookbook that far back, and we've only kind of, more recent history started properly eating them, then it's our own stupidity for not keeping them going from the beginning. Because donuts, well, they're nice, aren't they?
concoction of sugar, eggs, butter and yeast, add some icing, and it's the real deal. Number 2, baseball.
What? I feel like I heard about this one. This one
You can see the
shocked me.
the shock
Baseball
drain
is one of the
during-
most American things on this list. I am really becoming disturbed with how many classic American things are on this list that I didn't know
apple
were
pie and
British.
baseball.
Seriously, apple pie, the light bulb.
Isn't baseball basically rounders? You've probably not heard of rounders, but at school, then we used to play rounders, which is essentially the same as baseball. Can't remember if you used to hold the bat with one or two hands. I don't remember. Hopefully they're saying this, but I remember that you used to pretty much have the same sort of setup as baseball. But I also remember that as a kid, now I know you're not going to like this in America because it's one of the most manly American things out, but when we were at school, it was seen more of a kind of as a girls' sport, and that's not because it was in some way wimpy or something. It's because if you couldn't play football for some reason, I'm not sure what the reasons were why we couldn't play football, but the times when we couldn't, then we would have to play rounders, and the boys would never want to play rounders because it was the girls' game, because the girls used to play rounders when we played football. So for some reason, through that, it kind of got seen as a girls' game, and I don't know why, because it's not. You don't want to be whacked with a ball. So I don't really remember why. If anybody else, any other Brits in the comments, add why we kind of saw it as a girls' game, and if it was just one area, or is it right across the UK, but kind of back in the day. And let's listen to the rest of the video to see if it really is rounders, because I don't know that much about American baseball other than what I've seen on films, because we just don't have it here.
Baseball.
A national sport and obsession in the US, baseball was born in the UK. There are countless records of bat and ball games being played in Blighty, starting with stool ball in the 1300s. Sure, the rules have changed and refined over the years, but the basic premise is usually the same. Someone pitches, someone swings, others try to catch. In fact, some researchers argue that baseball is an offshoot of cricket, an English obsession which didn't catch on across the Atlantic.
Yeah, never played cricket either, not really.
Well, the more I think about these things, the more it's like British influence and British history is has far more depth and reach than American history. So it makes sense that a lot of these American things were actually first brought by Britain. Huh. I just never thought of it like that, or didn't want to.
Yeah, but what are the
think of
differences
it
between
like that.
rounders and baseball?
Number 1, the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh. Are you kidding me?
Not really got much American left in America,
We
is there,
finish
with
with a
this?
final salute for great British influence on American culture, because the US national anthem is sung to the tune of an 18th century English drinking song.
Really? I was gonna say, I do not know who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. I know.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it either. I know what he's saying, but we don't have it here. Yeah, as far as if you ask any English, British person, anybody from any part of the UK, including all the separate islands, what the American anthem means to them, they're going to say America. They're not going to say, oh, that used to be ours, because it's as much of a surprise to pretty much everybody in the UK as what it is to you right now.
I know I was taught it. Just not enough memory left in the old memory bank. But we're kind of getting into the specific melody here that it was put to. So maybe the words were written by an American. I mean, I would think so. And the melody
Well, you'd hope so.
was written in a song that was British and then taken and put in, and then the Star Spangled Banner was placed on top of it. That's what I think.
Oh, so what he's saying is, like a music track where somebody else uses part of that music track to make their new music track, because you never hear of that happening nowadays. That's almost like somebody doing it with a video.
I understand.
Because the US national anthem is sung to the tune of an 18th century English drinking song. Baltimore wordsmith Francis Scott Key takes full credit for the lyrics, but the melody was written by John Stafford Smith, a Gloucester-born composer.
Really? That is very interesting.
The Anacreontic
Yeah, I've
song,
never
as it
even
was
heard of it.
originally known, was regularly belted around a prestigious London gentleman's club.
They never taught us that little fact in American school. They never mentioned that.
Where wealthy people
No, I
met
don't
to
suppose.
wine and dine. Do you agree with our pick?
Oh my goodness. I was scared of this video, and for good reason. This has shattered my worldview. I don't know what to do with myself anymore. This was by Watch Mojo UK. I will give it a thumbs up. I don't know if I like what I just heard. just kidding. It's all in good fun. It's actually good to know this kind of stuff, to be honest. What do the comments say? Any comments?
Yeah, I'm not sure looking at his
Any
face that I'm
British
entirely
people rubbing
convinced
it
by that,
in?
because he looks
The
a bit
origins of the
deflated, to
Star
be
Spangled
honest.
Banner can also be seen in England. Yeah, I'm sure. Fine. Anything else? Baseball is just rounders with 2 hands on the bat. I don't know what rounders is. The Americans were originally British. The ultimate.
What is the difference between rounders and
Britain, sit
baseball?
down, son. America. Oh, but we improved those things. Yeah, that's me. But
made donuts popular.
But we use it and we made it a little better and we claim it's.
Donuts is a good example, though, isn't it? We've had the recipe for hundreds of years, and it's only recently we've started to actually cook them and eat them. That sounds like a real waste. I'm quite glad that America took that idea.
Ours. Yep, that's America. Oh, I think that's it. That's pretty much it. Okay. This was good. This was good. Good for me. Good for the soul.
I'm not sure that I believe him. He looks a bit less happy than when he first started playing the video. But I think that it's the same all across, isn't it? Most of these things that he's mentioned, I don't know whether they're generally know whether they're British or not. I know when we look into the different stuff, then we think, oh, well, I didn't realise that. And all of these things, it does seem to have come from the UK, but I'm not sure that with the amount of time that's passed between them as well. Obviously, things like the light bulb and stuff, then that will be a bit more important. Not because it makes any difference, but just because it's a bit of a lesson, isn't it? If you have a good idea, make sure you put the patent in before you let anybody else know about your good idea. But like I also said, there's a lot of people that designed and made stuff in the UK that needed to go to the US to get that stuff made because they just didn't have the sponsors or support in the UK for the new ideas. But you imagine popping up with something like the light bulb. I'm not saying that it happened with the light bulb, but you imagine popping up with something like the light bulb, telling somebody about it before you've actually created it to show them, trying to explain to them what you could create, and then asking them for a big pile of cash that you can go off and make it. Yeah, they're gonna burn you as a witch, aren't they? Okay, we're going to leave it there. That's about enough of this. This is an English or a British person reacting to an American reacting to shocking things that America stole from Britain. Stole's just too strong a word. Thank you for watching.